Floyd Mayweather spent $4.8 million on a car coated in diamonds. Mike Tyson bought a $300,000 bathtub. Canelo's got a watch collection worth more than most people's houses. That's what we expect from rich boxers, right? The flash, the excess, the ridiculous spending. But then there's this other category of fighters, the ones who made hundreds of millions and still live like they're broke. Manny Pacquiao washing his own car in his driveway. Tyson Fury choosing to sleep in a caravan instead of his £6 million mansion. Manuel Marquez still living in a middle-class neighborhood in Mexico City like he didn't just make $60 million. These aren't struggling fighters. These are champions, legends, Hall of Famers. They could be living like kings, but they choose to live like regular people. And honestly, their stories are way more interesting than another dude buying his 20th Lamborghini. These are the extremely rich boxers who live like they're poor, the humble ones, the grounded ones, the ones who never let the money change who they are. And what they do with their fortunes is gonna blow your mind. Let's get into it. Let's start with the obvious one, Manny Pacquiao, Pac-Man, the Filipino Flash, the only 8-division world champion in boxing history. This man has done it all. Beat Oscar De La Hoya, destroyed Ricky Hatton, fought Floyd Mayweather in the richest fight ever, became a senator in the Philippines, ran for president. Manny Pacquiao is worth somewhere between $200 and $250 million. That's generational wealth. That's never work again money. That's buy an island money. But here's what Manny does with his fortune. He gives most of it away. I'm not exaggerating. Manny Pacquiao is famous in the Philippines for just handing out cash to random people on the street. Like literally walking down the road and giving people money. Hundreds of dollars at a time. Thousands sometimes. He's built houses for poor families, paid for medical bills for strangers, funded entire communities. The man cannot say no to anyone asking for help. His wife Jinky has talked about this in interviews, how she has to manage the money because Manny would give away everything if she let him. And it's not just strangers. Manny's entourage, his friends, his family, everyone around him gets taken care of. But here's the thing, Manny himself lives super modest. He's got nice houses, sure, mansions in Manila and LA, but compared to what he could have? Compared to Floyd's $50 million car collection, Manny's lifestyle is basic. He wears simple clothes, drives regular cars, eats at local restaurants in the Philippines like he's still that poor kid from General Santos. Because that's exactly who he still is in his mind. Manny grew up in extreme poverty, like sleeping on cardboard boxes poor, selling donuts on the street to survive poor. He ran away from home at 14, lived on the streets of Manila, fought in underground boxing matches for a few dollars. That kind of struggle doesn't leave you. It stays with you forever. And for Manny, it keeps him grounded. Even after all the fame, all the money, all the success, Manny Pacquiao never forgot where he came from. And that's why he gives back so much. That's why he still washes his own car. That's why he still acts like money doesn't matter, even though he has more money than most people will see in 10 lifetimes. Now let's talk about someone even more interesting. Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. Beat Vladimir Klitschko when nobody thought he could. Came back from depression and addiction to reclaim his throne. Fought Deontay Wilder in one of the greatest trilogies in heavyweight history. Tyson Fury is worth around $230 million, maybe more. The man makes millions per fight. His fight with Wilder in 2020 paid him somewhere around $30 million. His recent fights? Even bigger paydays. But you know what Tyson Fury does with all that money? He lives in a caravan. I'm not joking. A literal caravan. A trailer. Like a mobile home. Tyson has said multiple times in interviews that he prefers living in a caravan because it keeps him connected to his gypsy roots, to his heritage, to who he really is. Now don't get it twisted. Tyson owns a massive mansion too. A £6 million estate in Morecambe, England. But the man genuinely loves staying in caravans, traveling around, living simple, keeping it real. He's talked about how material possessions don't make him happy, how all the money in the world can't cure depression, how he learned that happiness comes from family and faith, not cars and houses. And Tyson walks the talk. You see him on social media, and half the time he's just hanging out with his wife Paris and their 7 kids. 7 kids, man. They're running a whole football team over there. And Tyson's always talking about how his kids keep him grounded, how being a dad is more important than being a champion, how he doesn't need fancy stuff to be happy. He drives a Volkswagen Passat sometimes. A Passat. This man could buy a fleet of Ferraris and he's rolling up in a family sedan. He's talked about selling his Ferrari California because he realized he didn't even enjoy driving it. Just didn't care, would rather have something practical. Tyson's whole mentality is anti-materialistic. He grew up in the traveler community, Irish gypsy culture, where family and tradition matter more than wealth. And even after becoming one of the biggest stars in boxing, even after making tens of millions, Tyson refused to let the money change him. He's still the same guy who fought in small venues for a few thousand pounds. Still the same guy who struggled with mental health and addiction. Still the same guy who values authenticity over everything. And that's what makes Tyson Fury so special. He could live like a king. Instead, he chooses to live like a gypsy, because that's who he is. That's his identity, and no amount of money will ever change that. All right, next up, Vladimir Klitschko, Dr. Steelhammer. This man dominated heavyweight boxing for over a decade, held multiple world titles, defended them 23 times, most in boxing history, made between 150 and 250 million euros in his career. Vladimir is insanely rich, but here's the thing. Vladimir has a PhD in sports science, a doctorate. The man is a legitimate academic, and that education shaped how he views money, how he views life, how he views success. Vladimir doesn't live poor, but he lives smart. He's not out here buying diamond-encrusted watches or 100-car collections. He invests, real estate, technology startups, health and wellness companies, renewable energy. Vladimir is building wealth that lasts, not wealth that impresses people on Instagram. He drives a Mercedes, nice car, sure, but not a garage full of supercars. He travels commercially sometimes, even though he could afford private jets for every trip. He's practical, efficient, no waste. And post-retirement, Vladimir focused on philanthropy and education. He promotes sports programs for kids, supports educational initiatives in Ukraine, gives back to his community. During the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Vladimir and his brother Vitaly, who's literally the mayor of Kiev, stood on the front lines defending their country. Vitaly could have fled. He's rich enough to go anywhere, but he stayed. Vladimir came back to support. That's character. That's values. That's understanding that money means nothing if you don't stand for something. Vladimir Klitschko could be living in some mega mansion in Monaco, sipping champagne on a yacht. Instead, he's investing in the future, supporting his country, staying true to his principles. That's real wealth, not the fake stuff. Let's talk about Terrence Crawford. Bud, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world right now. Undisputed welterweight champion. This man is a straight-up killer in the ring. Slick, powerful, can switch stances, makes elite fighters look ordinary. Terrence Crawford is making millions per fight now. His fight with Errol Spence Jr., massive payday. But you know what's crazy? Terrence still lives in Omaha, Nebraska, his hometown. He didn't move to LA or Vegas or Miami like most champions do. He stayed home. Terrence has said in interviews that he wants his kids to grow up around family, around the community that raised him, around real people who keep him humble. He's not flashy, doesn't post pictures of expensive cars or jewelry all over social media, keeps his circle tight, stays focused. Terrence grew up poor in Omaha, single mother household, struggled. Boxing saved his life. And now that he's rich, he's giving back. Helping kids in his community, staying visible, being a role model. That's powerful, man. That's using your platform the right way. And we gotta mention Naoya Inoue, the monster, Japanese superstar, undisputed super bantamweight champion, pound for pound one of the best in the world. Knockout power in both hands. This dude is special. Naoya Inoue makes millions. He's a massive star in Japan, sells out arenas. But you know what? Naoya lives a super quiet, private life. No flashy lifestyle, no social media flexing, just trains, fights, goes home to his family. Japanese culture values humility and discipline, and Naoya embodies that perfectly. He doesn't need to show off, doesn't need validation, just focused on being the best.
That's rare in today's world, where everyone's trying to go viral and flex on Instagram. Naoya's just built different. Old school mentality. Respect. Now let me tell you about Juan Manuel Marquez. Dinamita, Mexican legend, 4-division world champion. Fought Manny Pacquiao 4 times in one of the greatest rivalries in boxing history. That 4th fight? November 2012. Marquez knocked Pacquiao out cold with one of the most devastating punches you'll ever see. Picture-perfect counter right hand. Pacquiao face down on the canvas. Marquez standing over him. Iconic. Juan Manuel Marquez made serious money in his career, probably somewhere around 50 to 60 million. And you know what he does? He still lives in Mexico City in a middle-class neighborhood. Not some gated community with armed guards and infinity pools. Just a regular neighborhood. Marquez has talked about how he doesn't need a lavish lifestyle to be happy, how he's content with what he has, how he values family and tradition over material excess. He runs a boxing gym in Mexico where he trains young fighters. He gives back to the community. He lives humbly, drives normal cars, eats at local taquerias. Juan Manuel Marquez could easily move to some luxury spot in Cancun or Miami, but he chooses to stay home, stay grounded, stay real, because that's who he is. A fighter from Mexico who never forgot where he came from. Here's the thing about all these fighters: Manny, Tyson, Vladimir, Crawford, Inoue, Marquez. They all have something in common. They understand that money doesn't define them. Their character does. Their values do. Their impact does. They could all be living like Floyd Mayweather. Private jets, 100 car collections, strip clubs every weekend, entourages of 50 people. But they chose differently. They chose humility. They chose family. They chose community. They chose to stay connected to who they were before the fame and the fortune. And honestly, that makes them richer than any bank account ever could. Because at the end of the day, when the fights are over, when the cameras are gone, when the crowd stops cheering, what do you have left? If all you have is money and material things, you're going to feel empty. But if you have family, community, purpose, values, principles, you're going to feel fulfilled. And that's what these boxers figured out. That's what separates them from the ones who go broke, the ones who lose everything, the ones who end up bitter and broken. These guys won in the ring, and they won in life. And that's the real championship right there.